Well, hello there, and welcome to this week's episode of Grow Wealthy Grooming. I'm your host, River Lee. I am the founder of the Savvy Groomer, where we teach you to go from being burnt out, broke, and broken to healthy, wealthy, and happy, building a grooming business on your terms. So let's go ahead and start talking about today's topic. So I want to go into part 2 of Are Brick and Mortar Profitable? And I want to thank, a gentleman named Gabriel for making a comment. And I'm not saying that to call you out. I think it gives us an opportunity to delve deeper into the conversation, because I do think it's important to talk about these things. And I want to clarify things, because I think sometimes when things are said, they're seen as an end-all be-all, and I never want that. I want to make sure that we're always clear. Hey, Marie, and hey, Peter, great to see you guys live. And Candace, wonderful to see you. So if we go back to Are Brick and Mortar Profitable? I think we did that about 2 weeks ago. We started talking about different, and sorry, I'm just pulling up my stuff right now. We talked about all different things that, ways that it can not be profitable. And I think what's important to realize is that doesn't mean that it's always not profitable, right? That's not saying it's never profitable, but is it profitable in the average groomer? And I want you guys to remember that in the Savvy Groomer on this show, who I am talking to is the average groomer. The groomer who started at Petco, PetSmart, the small mom and pop. They're the single mom. They're the groomer that, is just pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, and they're trying to just get ahead. And from there, it's like, okay, let's build a business that it aligns to ourselves. For the most part, I'm not talking to people that want to own 10 or 20 stores, that want to own fleets of 30 vans. I think there are a lot of business coaches who are, better suited to talk to those people, not because I can't, but just because, when I was the person sitting in the grooming shop, living there illegally because I was so poor with a budget of $25 a month for food, being there pregnant, to me, that's who I'm speaking to 9 times out of 10. I want to help those people. Hey, Ariel and Aaron, great to see you guys live. Oh, thank you for the haircut notice. Yeah, I'm really enjoying not having all that extra weight. So again, it's never to call anyone out, but I thought it was really important because I love when there is discord. I love when we have an opportunity to talk to each other. I'm trying to figure out a way to pull this comment up and read it without accidentally making my video go live. So give me 1 second, guys. Sometimes it's just not easy, and I should have just taken a screenshot of it, but I thought this would be easy enough. But you know how that goes, right? And again, this is never to shame anyone. This is never to make someone feel bad. I just want to communicate. So they said, as it is presented, it's not a realistic view of the business. The employee count is excessive. Where is the owner in the picture of it, and what is their role? A business employing full-time 9 people with an owner only overseeing. Having the facilities and the space for daycare and boarding takes years of growth and investment to expand. This is not a true representation of business in the early stages by any stretch. So my original plan for doing the Are Brick and Mortar Profitable did not include doggy daycare or boarding. That was only with, some prompting from somebody in the comments who wanted to see if that would add to the money. But even if that had all that investment, we saw where the payroll just got out of control. So, I thought it would be really helpful, again, to kind of look at this again, because I'm not saying it's not profitable. What I'm saying is that we are living in insane times, unpredictable times. And for those of you guys that are struggling with a brick and mortar and you're wondering why you're not making the kind of money you need to make, this is why. And again, that's not anyone's fault, but I do think it's important to consider why this is happening over and over and over again, right? To a lot of amazing groomers that, are doing the best they can, that are just trying their hardest. So, I mean, we can definitely start, again, in the beginning stages and move there. I do need to be aware of my time, guys. I will have to leave at some point with, this is week 6 of the Price of Grease Masterclass. I'm so happy for everyone there. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm hoping I can keep an eye on this, because I'm trying to, it's hard to watch the, I need my second monitor up. We are all doing what we can do today. All right, so you should be able to see this, guys. So this is a brick and mortar. So let's say we have just one groomer owner, okay? And how much money do they need to survive? I'm gonna, I really hate taking the assumption that they don't need any money, because I don't think that someone should open a business as a hobby. I think that they should open a business up in order to make money. So let's say, for giggles, they need $2,000 a month. So if we take that $2,000 a month, right? And we're going to divide that by 4 weeks. That's $500. So I'm going to put $500. Oh, I'm sorry, hourly. So I have to do this. Hang on. And then I'm going to divide that. So that's per week. So that'd be 40 hours. Let's say they're going to work 40 hours a week. So they need to pay themselves at least $12.50 an hour, 40 hours a week, right? So we're going to say they pay themselves $500 a week, but they're probably working way more than 40. They're probably working 50 or 60 hours, because this is just grooming, right? They're just grooming 40 hours a week. And let's say they're not quite a power groomer, but they're a really fast groomer. So they can groom 8 dogs a day, right? And they're going to work 5 days a week, right? So they're grooming 40 dogs a week. And let's say they just opened up, but they feel like $65 is a really fair amount of money for their Shih Tzu. So here, yes, this business would be able to pay less than 30%, right? Because I would need 30% payroll would be $780, and then we have the money here, right? So then let's look at our overhead. So we have our rent, our electric, our heat, our biz insurance. I don't know, if you guys are in the comments and you want to add anything that would be different in a brick and mortar versus a mobile, please go ahead and let me know. But for the most part, this is, we have, obviously we have a brick and mortar. We would also have all like the shampoo and your clippers and this and that, but that would basically be the same as your van. The only other thing you might want is we have our debt here. If you did a DIY build out, you're probably looking about, $25,000, including all of your equipment, your hot water tank, your, changing the floor. And some of you guys might be like, well, I didn't change the floor. I didn't paint anything, but right now, if you were to do a basic DIY with the cost of building materials, that's what we're looking at. And a professional build out, which a lot of places require, would be around $50,000. So this is where we have about here. And I'm going to be generous and say it's $1,200 a month. And it really wildly depends upon where you are in the country. I've heard people with rents as low as $600 a month for, about $1 a square foot. And I've heard rents as high as, basically, $5,000-$10,000 for a shop less than 1,000 square feet. So it really does, change. So again, if we have our mobile groomer, again, let's say they need to make the $500 a week, right? So they're going to work 40 hours. Now, mind you, what's awesome about having this groomer, right, both here, I know, I wish I could stretch this out. Let me see if I can do that and still see things. Both here and here, right? Even if you work somewhere, like if you live somewhere where minimum wage is, $15, you can pay yourself less than minimum wage, right? So if this groomer works somewhere like California, and she's like, okay, I'm going to pay myself this amount of money. You know, she's still below there, but if she's living somewhere with $15 an hour, she probably needs more than $2,000 a week to live. But let's keep that at $1,250 just to make life easy. Again, now she's going to groom way less dogs, right? So this groomer here, she's going to probably groom 5 dogs per day. Let's say she works 5 days a week. She's going to groom significantly less dogs. She's going to go from 40 to 25. Now, let's say she's going to charge $100, right? So again, significantly, well, actually not significantly less money. So she's doing 26 and the mobile groomer's doing 25. And I'm going to steal this. Oh, I see what I did. Never mind. I'm just going to be lazy. And again, are we under 30% payroll? Oh God, being dyslexic sucks. Pardon me. And I want us to have this discord. It's really important to me that we can talk and agree or disagree. So this groomer is also under payroll, 30% payroll this groomer is, right? And this is a grooming business owner. So she is the bather, the receptionist. You know, she's realistically working about 60 hours a week, but only paying herself for 40, right? So again, and this isn't even accurate because, you know, if she's working 60 hours, it's actually this, you know, whatever the minimum wage is or whatever it is she wants to make plus time and a half. So that's not even accurate, but let's just say we're going to pay her for that 40. So here's the difference too. Okay, your van payment, let's say, is $1,500. Your electric, the sewer, and again, let's make a sinking fund for repairs here. We also need that, you know, not just for the van, but we also would need that for our brick and mortar overhead, right? Oh, let me add. And I'm sorry I'm bouncing, guys. And let me grab our biz insurance, which is going to be significantly more in the van. Because obviously you're driving around a $100,000 grooming van. So let's say our grooming, let's say it's really high. Let's say it's $500, okay? Thank you, computer. I love when it's just very helpful. Okay. So right now, when we look at the overhead, we're like, wow, you know, this is significantly higher. You know, that's $2,225. And this is, and again, yeah, you really should set aside $100 sinking fund in case if your water heater goes, if this goes, if that goes. So this is $1,000 less a month, right? And the build out for the DIY is $25,000 and the build out for the pro is $50,000. Versus here, let's say the DIY build out, which, you know, I have a love-hate. I think that there are people that can do it and then there are people that should never do it. You know, it's like anything. It's like owners grooming their own dogs, right? Or dog groomers grooming cats. Like there are always exceptions to the rule. Just be very careful when you do it. So if we divided that by 5 years, so let's say this brick and mortar signed a 5-year lease and this person DIY'd and they got a 5-year loan. They have to pay about $11,000 every year. In a $100,000 van, I've had a Hanvey van, so I'm going to use that example. You're paying about $20,000 a year for 5 years. So your van payment is going to be about $16,000. So let me fix that. Here we go. So here's the difference though. In this 5-year, right? So let's say how much did this cost? Now, what's nice about this is that once it's built, right? You might need some updating, but it's not going to break down. It's not going to do any of those things, right? And again, if we were to, let's say, take a loan out on that, how much is that loan going to be? Thank you, computer. So let me move this down a little bit. Well, if we added a pro build out, and again, this is over 5 years, right? And this, so let's go ahead and add that build out. Again, if you didn't have the cash to build it out, and I will check the comments in 1 second. I just want to put that here really quickly. And I'm going to explain why, you know, so we've got, well, actually now we've got 2383, right? Compared to our 2392. So now we're not actually looking all that different for the mobile versus the brick and mortar. Now, in a hopeful world, this brick and mortar, I will be able to keep this building for 10, 20 years and be able to groom in this for a very, very, very long time. Most grooming, let me see so you guys can see my face. Oh God, one of these days. Some days. Oh, there we go. So in a perfect world, the brick and mortar, we build it, it's gonna be our building for 10, 20 years. Now, if there's something we have learned just in the local, I don't want to say the local market, but for the most part, what used to happen isn't happening. So will the company that buys that building own that building for the next 20 years? We don't know, right? We don't know. And this is not if you own the commercial space. This is just if you're renting it. So you've paid $25,000 or $50,000 to build out this grooming salon, and you're only paying $12,000 a year. Now, rent's going to go up every year. So let's say, the rent, let's say for Magic, the rent doesn't change. It's $1,200. In 5 years, let's say it's not a triple net lease. A triple net lease, for those of you guys that don't know that, is basically you have to pay all the things. You have to pay the taxes. You have to pay for all the repairs in the building. Let's say your landlord's really nice and you have to fix anything. Like you do your water heater if you need that, or any plumbing issues. But if the AC goes, if there's any other issues, who will pay for that, right? Well, when we still look at this item, and again, I am talking to the average pet groomer who wants to go out on their own. I am not talking to somebody who is, I don't want to say the exception to the rule, but guys, I'm talking to the average groomer here. If we do that, right, for times 12, so it's going to cost us about $28.60, right? So let's say $28,600 a year. And so let's say times 5 years. So we're going to pay $142,980. So let's go over here. Again, there are plenty of other things that we can throw in there. I don't like generators, so I don't ever include propane or a generator because I have a Hanvee and I don't need any of those things. So let's say 5 years, right? So I've paid $143,520. Whoop, did I do this wrong? Oh no, I'm good. So this is my mobile. So my mobile overhead was $143,520 for 5 years. And here we go. So in 5 years, let's say, the shop really doesn't need many repairs, but we've got lots of money here. But the dryer breaks, or, maybe you want to upgrade or update things, right? Well, that's great. You've got that money there. But let's say if I'm like, okay, I want to buy a whole new van. So somebody who's a brick and mortar will say, well, now you've paid all this money and now you got to buy a whole new van. But then again, if I have paid off this van in 5 years, I have one of two options. I can either completely make this zero, right? And now I've really made and by the way, this will go down too because my van is cheaper. So let's cut that in half. So now my overhead of my mobile is significantly cheaper versus my brick and mortar. Because this is never going to go down. This is only ever going to go up. Now, I will say the cheapest way to run a grooming business is actually to have an in-your-home grooming salon. That is very different than a brick and mortar. We were talking about renting commercial space from somebody else. Here, I have now significantly less. Now, I have the option. A lot of people hold on to their grooming vans for 10 years. So then I have this, right? Well, that's significantly easier and a lot cheaper for the average groomer who does not want to have 10 employees or grow crazy. So you're like, oh no, they're going to have this van. They want to sell it and they're going to buy a brand new van. They want a brand new van every 5 years. Okay, well then what does a brand new van sell for? So I, again, not I am not endorsed by Hanvey at all. I just like their van. So I found a 10-year-old, let's call it a 10-year-old van, and a Hanvey van. They're not easy to find. It's got about 88,000 miles, which is about average for $60,000. So what I can do is I can take that $60,000 and I can either put that down on a house, I can put that down into my own pocket, I can put that down on a grooming van, right? So now what I can do here, well, let's say that's gone up, right? Let's say that's gone up to like 120 because inflation sucks. Okay, so we're actually going to take that and we're going to minus the $60,000 that I just sold my van for. So I'm actually going to take this and divide it by 5 years. Right? So I'm actually going to take this and divide it by 5 years. So now it's going to cost me $12,000 a year. Right? Let me go back. So it's going to cost me half. Because I paid off half of my van. Now, that's a 10-year-old van. About a 5-year-old van is going to sell for about 80. So let's say instead of, because that was based upon 10 years. So let's go ahead and say $80,000. Well, now it's only $8,000 compared to, right? That's just the build out. So let's look at the math on how much I spend in rent a year. And again, $1,200 is not a lot. So it cost me $14,000 to pay to somebody else to have a shop where it cost me $20 for a van, but in 5 years that van is mine and I can sell it for anywhere between $60,000 to $80,000. Where if I choose to leave this business, nobody wants to buy your job. Pam is saying, I rented a commercial space 10 years solo, and yes, it was expensive. Mobile groomers are now cropping up in town after the whole COVID thing, and I'm moving home to groom part-time. That's exactly what I totally agree. Now, I believe you should do it legally, and I know Pam would never do it illegally. She's definitely somebody who does the right thing. So, in your home grooming. So if this rent was to me, that makes lots of sense. If I'm paying if River Lee is paying, I should say, well, like in Pam's existence. So if her grooming business is paying Pam money to rent that space, well, that's just money in your pocket. But if you are paying a landlord, especially where rents are going up everywhere, when real estate goes up, commercial spaces also go up. Now, don't get me wrong. In mobile, we didn't add gas, right? So, but even if we added gas in here, let's say it's astronomically high. Let's say you've got a diesel, and for shits and giggles, let's say $500. Let's say something real high, like $500 a month, which mine was never that high, right? That's a lot of money. Right? But I'm still selling this van in 5 years for $60,000 to $80,000. And that's where I'm saying, guys, I'm not saying it's not at all profitable. What I'm saying is that when we look at this stuff, the average groomer, the average person is going to be here. Now, if you're like, okay, well, this person here, well, what are they going to do? Because they're not going to hire, right? That this person, for the most part, doesn't need the bather, doesn't need the receptionist, especially if they're using an online booking system that basically does the job of a receptionist. They can be solo and pay themselves more because the overhead is significantly less, right? Not that it's less per month, I shouldn't say that, but it's just once it's paid off. This, unless if you're buying the property, never gets paid off. And if you are asked to move, I was just on a coaching call recently by somebody who's been in business, I want to say it was about 10 years, and they've moved 3 times. 3 times. And I'm not saying it's not profitable. I'm saying you have less control. And to me, it's about risk. If you're looking at this and you're like, well, that's what I want to do, absolutely do it. Absolutely do it. You should definitely do it if that's what you want to do. I'm not saying don't fulfill your dream. What I'm saying is that in uncertain times, mobile is a better option, and in your home is a better option, because this person can just add another groomer. I'm going to get rid of this really quick. Right? So let's say they're going to actually pay this groom. Whoop, sorry. I meant to, I need to copy this instead. So they're going to have to be paid way more than that. They're probably going to want $25, right? So this is where you're like, oh, we've got to get this number under 30%. And that's where I agree. So when I do this math, I'm going to go times 0.3. So, So, oh, God darn it. Behave yourself, computer. So we're at $750. So I need to get up to $1,000. So I'm going to sit there. Now this is really high. It's $125. Whoop. Nope. 130. No, probably 135. That's as close as we're getting, people. And that's really high. Or they need to do 6 dogs a day. Right? So that's a lot. That went real quick. That's a lot. There we go. So, that is absolutely where we have to balance out the hourly rate, the mobile, etc. Right? Just like everything else. Candace is saying, what about owning the building? Absolutely. Now, this is where, in Candace, we've done some coaching sessions. Absolutely. If you're going to own the building, let's say you've got your DIY, etc. So let's take a mortgage. And I don't want to go into all the insanity that is mortgages right now. But how much is that mortgage? Let's say it's $400,000, which is more likely in a commercial loan. So we're going to put it over a 30-year, right? Oh, we don't want that many zeros. And now the awesome thing about owning a commercial building, right? And we're not talking about a home. We're talking about a commercial building. The awesome thing about a commercial building is it is going to go up in value. A grooming van is not going to go up in value. It's going to be worth what it's worth. That said, don't forget not just the mortgage. We need commercial. We're going to do taxes, right? And commercial taxes in most cities, depending upon if it is zoned industrial versus retail, that is going to affect the tax rate. So, I'm going to go low on this. I'm going to say it's worth $3,000, which is super low a year in taxes. So I'm going to take that times 30 years. So that is going to be in the same, so I'm going to put that here. So I'm going to say in 30 years, and by the way, this is only going to go up, right? So that's where you're also going to pay $90,000. But we can also take in 30 years, how many vans would you own? If you're going to own 1, 2, so let's say for giggles, because why not? Let's do some arithmetic, right? Let's say I'm going to buy $125,000 van every 5 years. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So I'm going to buy 6 vans, right? That many. But I'm also going to sell, let's say for giggles, $80,000. I'm also going to sell these vans. I'm going to sell my 6 vans every 5 years. See, it knew what I wanted. So that was the business cost. But I have, again, here, I've sold my trucks. I don't have a piece of property that could be in 30 years worth, quadruple that. But are you going to keep that building for 30 years? And that's a good question. If you are prepared to sit in one area for 30 years, that's a great investment. But if you're like, no, like I want to travel the world, I want to, as somebody who thought they were going to die in Rhode Island is now in South Carolina, I don't know if I want to purchase that $500,000 property, right? And this is really a different person who's going to buy a commercial lease. Most of us are not going to qualify. Ready? Like, let's have that real conversation. Most of us are not qualifying for a $500,000 commercial business. If you are here, of course you want to. Yeah, getting a commercial loan right now in COVID land. Yes, getting a van loan for a mobile grooming van has never been harder. Getting a commercial loan is very hard because we had national shutdowns. Like a lot of businesses were closed, especially places like California, for 6 months or a year. Banks don't want to lend you an umbrella when it's raining. They only want to lend you an umbrella when it's sunny. Now, if you're the person that has connections with your family or you have an angel investor, there are lots of situations where you might have that. Is that small time thinking? I think that it's realistic for the most of the grooming industry. Do I think you can make money doing a brick and mortar? Absolutely. Do I think that you're going to make the most money doing a brick and mortar? Well, it depends on you. If you want to be that empire builder honestly, and you're willing to calculate the sacrifices needed for it, absolutely. Do I think that a lot of people misjudge their business? Yes. I think a lot of people assume they're going to hire unicorn employees that are going to stay with them forever, and they're going to be able to leave the business being managed by somebody and they're not going to pay attention to it at all. And in this instance with the grooming business owner, right? Again, is there anything wrong with that? No. And I mean, they can, again, ready? Let's just go ahead and have them hire. Let's say they only want to hire 2 other groomers. So they're going to groom full time. And their groomers want to make a livable wage, which is $25 an hour. And they're both going to work full time. And they're going to groom 8 dogs a day, even though the average millennial groomer does not want to do that. They're going to work 5 days a week, right? And we're going to charge $65 a dog. Now, we can look at that and say, wow, that seems pretty profitable, right? Okay, but if this groomer owner, if they're making less, they're going to want to make more, right? We're just going to, and we're way above 30%. And this owner right here, they're basically owning their job. And how are they keeping quality with these other groomers? How are they making sure that these groomers are checking in and out their dogs properly and not stealing stuff, right? Not that I'm saying most groomers steal, but I know a lot of groomers who might feel bad for charging for hypo shampoo that their owner makes them do because they're like, well, that dog has skin issues. I can't use that. Or the owner didn't want to pay for a de-shed and I need to charge for de-shed. So this is it profitable? Yeah. I mean, you're making money, but is it under 30%? No. But neither is this right here, right? This groomer here, like we would want to keep it under 30%. So let's do that. Let's do 0.3. Well, actually it is under, so we're at 135. So here's the thing is if you run your mobile and say, I want to charge 80, well, of course it's going to screw you up. That's where we have to charge appropriately. Now we can do the same in our brick and mortar, right? So let's say 85. Oh wait, which one is that? Is it this one? Yeah, so if I charge 85, then I'm making money. I'm making over 30%. But the difference is here is that in this shop, if my 2 groomers call out, I can't groom their 16 dogs. In this mobile, if I have one van, and I'm not saying people with fleets, and again, I know that's thinking small, but let's run our foundation smoothly. In this instance, if my groomer calls out, I can just go in the van if I'm a groomer owner, right? If they call out, I just take their place. I don't have a situation like in here where I have a whole staff of people. Now, this done in a commercial space you've owned is very profitable, but renting a commercial space in a time when things are completely unsteady. If you had asked me this question 10 years ago, I have owned a grooming business that was in a store. We made lots and lots and lots of money, but the times are a-changing. Let's talk about that super quick. I owned a shop where we did 40 dogs a day. It was insane. We had 5 people and we groomed, we bathed at least 40 dogs a day. And it was really well run. It was not super chaotic. It was not super stressful. But when I compare a shop that does, let's say, 10 dogs a day and a shop that does 40 dogs a day, one is very stressful and one is not. One is go, 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 which I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoy. And one is more relaxing. So you have to ask yourself, if people want more work-life balance, it is a lot easier to give somebody in a mobile work-life balance. Why? Because if someone wants a day off, they can just have somebody go in there versus in a shop. In a shop, if someone calls out, then everyone has to take the load. Versus if I'm a grooming owner who doesn't groom full time, I can just go in the van. Now, obviously, when you start getting to 2 or 3 vans, that goes away. But again, if I had, in this instance with the overhead, I paid off my van in 5 years and now I have my second groomer in that van or a third groomer in that van. That van the only overhead is repairs, water, electricity, of course, because you have to plug in your van at the end of the day. But I don't have a van payment, and that groomer is way less stressed. Now, they might be stressed out if there's a lot of traffic where you live, but if you don't have a lot of traffic, they're less stressed. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying mobile's the way to go. The least stressful, the most profitable is in your home grooming. But the majority of us do not own that. Pam is saying commercial loans are harder to get and you do need a very large down payment. Grooming vans right now are looking at $20,000 or $30,000 down for a down payment, which I feel like is basically equivalent of a commercial build. Commercial loans want more than 20% down. I know when I was looking at commercial properties, I had a mixed use property and I still needed more than 20% down. And that was, more than 6-7 years ago, 2014, whatever that was. Hey, Christy, great to see you. Candace is saying, what about booth rental? Booth rental is rarely legal. It is very, very difficult to legally rent to another groomer. And most of the time, it's not legal. Pam said, never met a groomer that would rent a booth. They want easy income or own their own. Right. And the problem with booth rental very easily is you have 2 choices. So a booth rental is basically the same as renting a unit in a strip mall. Right. My landlord in a strip mall can't tell me what to do. They can't tell me how to run my business. They can't tell me how much to charge. They just take a paycheck. So if you're going to do booth rental, you have to understand that they can produce the shittiest grooms in the world and there's nothing you can do about it. Are you willing to let that happen? if they do unsafe practices. Now, I'm not talking about like beating dogs and things like that, nothing criminal. But let's say, they use hearts spot on, right? And you're like, that's not really safe. I wouldn't do that. You have no say. You can't do anything about it. So again, booth rental is not only rarely legal, it is such a gray area. There are a lot of people that have independent contractors that get screwed. The IRS is not a very forgiving organization. And even if your state allows things, remember the IRS is federal. If that booth renter gets badly injured and files workers' comp and they determine that you've told them to do too many things and now they're an employee, that is on you. And if you don't have workers' comp insurance because they're booth rentals, they can sue you personally, right? And the same thing with, that's the thing, guys, right? Is that, we're constantly trying. Now, there could be a business where you're literally like, dog groomer booths, whatever. But then each business needs to have its own license, its own insurance, and it's really hard for them to get insurance like that. Like most chair rentals aren't legal in most states. They're really cracking down on that. I know the hairdresser I went to both in South Carolina and Rhode Island, both were switched. One literally is a booth renter in South Carolina. The one in Rhode Island had to be switched to employee. And this person literally rents a room where she shuts it and like she has access to the building whenever she wants. She charges whatever she wants. She has her own business that's like an office door in like basically like a house almost. She has her own salon room. She uses her own salon sink. Everything is there for her. She doesn't share anything. Nothing. That would be a booth rental. However, think about how much that would cost you and how much would you rent that out for and why would you want to do that? If they slice open a dog, you are going to have to ultimately deal with it. If you're going to deal with it, you might as well have an employee where you have a say over what they do and how they run things versus there's nothing you can do, right? If they're shaving a cat with a 5 in reverse and you're like, yeah, that's not such a hot idea, nothing you can do. Because it's their business. The landlord of the strip mall can't tell me how to groom a dog. That's not their position. All right, guys. I know it sounds like really like blah, 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 blah. But again, I wanted to talk about this. There's definitely a way to make a brick and mortar profitable and maybe even more profitable, especially when you add things like retail. I don't teach groomers to do retail. Why? Because I think that the average groomer is not in a position to add those things to it. It is a whole nother game. And again, I think that there are groomers that want to do that and are really good at that. I don't teach that. Why? Because I want you to be easy and simple. Keeping track of inventory is not easy. Dealing with vendors is not easy. Dealing with, the profitability, especially if you want to get into food, into this, into that. It takes a lot of time to sell those products. And also, the Savvy Groomer tends to attract groomers that want to groom and then go home and have a life. So there's definitely a way. And again, I'm not saying anyone is wrong. You can absolutely do that. I never tell you guys what to do. I can just show you the numbers and you've got to make your own decisions. And I think that's really important. And I just want to clarify who I'm talking to because for those people that want to grow these like giant retail grooming, big businesses, I always suggest you guys go to Pet Boss Nation. I think that they are more inclined to those very boutique-y, bakery, lots of retail. Where I am definitely talking to the average groomer who wants to focus on making their service profitable. So, and again, I don't even love daycare and boarding because I just find that to make those things profitable, you have to put out so much money and life's short. Life's so short. And do you want to do that? And if you do, great. But the majority of us want to groom and go home and have a life. And it's already a hard enough job. You know, we want to train people to groom so that we don't have to groom full time. And that's more of who I'm talking to. So I just want to make that clear, because I just want to make sure that if you guys are like, oh, River says I have to do this. I love someone like Dave Ramsey. And I think you should always question what people have to teach you. Because nothing's ever cookie cutter. Like, and I tell you guys that nothing is ever cookie cutter. All I can do is show you the negatives. And if you're like, yeah, no, I really want to still do this, it's like, okay, well then let's take your personal passion and grow it into a profitable business. All right, guys, but I do really need to go. This was part 2 of Are Brick and Mortar Profitable. And like I said, guys, yes, they can be profitable, but are they easily profitable? No. If you want to learn more about me or my business, go ahead and hop into my Savvy Pet Professionals free Facebook group. You know, we talk about personal finance, business, and lifestyle. Yeah, that's always fun. I like when you guys come and hang out with me. We will be launching the Price Increase Masterclass as a self-study around December 5th. Around December 1st. If you guys are going to be interested in that, go ahead and sign up for the wait list. We will be offering that. You can actually sign up for it now if you want to. And you guys can always PM me or message me on Facebook, and I can get you into that now, into the pre-sale, and then you can do that. No problem, Pam, Ariel, and Tiffany. It was so great to see everyone here, and I will see you guys next time. And again, remember, there is no cookie cutter solution. You are all different people. Every business is different. You know, don't take the end all be all advice for some chick on the internet, right? I want you to be successful. I want you to build your business long term. I want you to be happy in whatever measure that is. Okay, guys? I will talk to you next week. Bye.